Recently I've been working on a mission style hall clock, and today it came time to put the numbers on the face, and I decided to use 3D text for that. I decided that I would make a library of the numbers. Using the 3D text function, I made components, and then I set their component axes so their origins would give me the insertion points at the center of the numbers. I have one left to make here. I'm making the number 12. Start out without extruding it. The 3D text function always wants to put the component on the ground plane, and we need it to be standing up for this, so I'm going to rotate it first of all into a vertical position, and then I'm going to explode the component and remake it so that its thumbnail will be readable when we get done. Otherwise we're looking at the bottom edge of the component, which we don't want to do in the thumbnail. So I'll just remake the component immediately and replace the original instance of the component. And now I'm going to use a plugin that'll add a center point to the component. And I'm just going to set a couple of guidelines so you can see where I'm going here. I'm going to use that center point as the origin for the new component axis. I'll change the axes, set the red and the green, and now that's taken care of. And then we'll just add a little thickness, and I'm going to pull away from the origin because I want the origin of the component to be at the back, so when I put the component in place, it will lay on the surface that I'm going to apply these to. So now I have this collection of numbers, and I'm going to make a component library that I can access from another thing. I'm going to save the numbers in a library, a local collection. I'm making a new folder in the components folder under SketchUp. Give it a name, and when I click OK, that's done, and I can click on the little arrow and choose Add Favorites, and then it's there. So now here's the clock, and we'll shift to the hidden line mode so that we can see this more easily, and I'll set a couple of guidelines to identify the center of the clock face. I'm just coming down and snapping to the midpoints along the edges. And now I'm going to put in a circle with 12 sides. So I stop before I start to draw the circle, and I type 12S and hit enter. That gives me 12 vertices as the location points for the components. So now I'll go to that component library and bring the numbers in, and I just have to put them at the points working around the circle. The hardest part here is getting them in the right order, which obviously isn't very difficult. But they drop right into place because their component axis origins are right at the center of each number. So there's nothing really to work at here. And now I'm going to make the 12, 3, 6, and 9 numbers slightly larger, and I'll use the scale tool for that. We'll zoom in close here because we need to be able to see the middle handle of the 3 handles at the corner. We'll activate the scale function, and then once I'm hovering over that handle, I'll hold the control key or option on the Mac, so I'm scaling about the center. When you enter the scale value, you have to enter it for 2 directions. So in this case I entered 1.3, 1.3 and hit the enter key. And the same thing applies again to the 3. Remembering to hold that control key while doing this. If you don't hold the control key, you still scale the number up, but the number changes its position. It's not centered on that imaginary circle. or the circle that we had. I deleted that circle, by the way, after I was done with it. Finally, the 9. When we get all done with this, we'll add some materials, a material or a color, to the numbers. Look back here at a little bit. So now we'll go to the materials library, and I've already used this material in this model, so I'm just going to the InModel library. And we'll open the 12 for editing and select all of the faces and apply the material. And if we switch to the texture mode, we can actually see that we've got that. Now, I would have to do this for each component, which isn't really all that difficult, but there's a faster way to apply the material to all of these, and that we'll use a plugin that will replace in this case, the default material with the new material. And so we'll get that. It's a global material change. And we'll select the new material out of the list, click OK, and we're finished with that. Our numbers are done. Now all I have to do is figure out what kind of hands to put on the clock, and we're finished.